Welcome, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm excited that you're joining me here today as we dive deep into preparing for this magical season ahead. I have to start by giving a special shout out to our viewer from Ireland who left the most wonderful comment about Celtic cross quarter days. She mentioned St. Bridget's crosses and how children still make them from reeds on February 1st. Thank you for sharing that beautiful tradition with our community. It's exactly this kind of cultural wisdom that makes seasonal living so rich and meaningful. I can see some of you are already sharing your fall preparations in the chat. Keep these coming because we're building community here. So let's start with something that might surprise some of you. The difference between cross-quarter days and our more popular events like equinoxes and solstices. The equinoxes and solstices mark the astronomical peaks, the longest day, the shortest day, and the two balance points within a year. But cross-quarter days fall right between these events, and they're actually when we begin to feel the seasonal energy most powerfully. Actually, we encounter either a solar or a cross-quarter day once every about 6 weeks. Think about it. We're approaching the fall equinox, but we've already been feeling autumn's energy for weeks, haven't we? The leaves are changing, that crisp is in the air, and our bodies are already craving warm foods. That's because we're in the cross-quarter season between summer solstice and fall equinox. Our Irish friend mentioned Imbolc. That's the cross-quarter day between winter solstice and spring equinox, when we first sense spring stirring, even though winter isn't over. In the States, it's called Groundhog Day. In France, it's Chandeleur or Candlemas. These Celtic peoples understood something profound. The energy of seasonal change happens in the spaces between the solar events, not just at the peaks. We also recognize May 1st as Beltane, and in France, it's Labor Day. The next cross-quarter day is Lammas on August 1st, followed by All Saints' Day on November 1st. So even if these might not be observed as religious holidays today, depending upon where you are, they are often national or bank holidays. It's really just a means of telling time. Are any of you noticing changes in your body or the environment that tell you autumn is coming? Drop it in the chat. Now, as an herbalist, this is where I get really excited. Autumn brings us some of the most powerful healing allies, especially for managing inflammation as our bodies adapt to cooler weather. 4 essential autumn herbs I consider. First is turmeric. This golden root is like sunshine in a jar. As joints start feeling the weather changes, turmeric's curcumin compounds are incredibly anti-inflammatory. I love making golden milk lattes on cool evenings. Just remember to add a pinch of black pepper to enhance the absorption. My second favorite fall herb is ginger, another warming root that's perfect as temperatures drop. Ginger helps with both digestive inflammation and joint stiffness. Fresh ginger tea is my go-to when an empty stomach or a rolling tummy rebels against rich autumn foods, or when my hands start feeling the seasonal shift and the arthritis sets in. Third is elderberry. We're right in elderberry season right now. While everyone knows it for immune support, elderberry is also powerfully anti-inflammatory, thanks to those deep purple anthocyanins. Making elderberry syrup now sets you up beautifully for cold and flu season. Fourth is echinacea, the purple coneflower that's blooming in gardens right now. Beyond immune support, echinacea helps modulate our inflammatory response. making it perfect for seasonal transitions. The beautiful thing about these herbs is that nature provides them exactly when they're needed the most. Speaking of perfect timing, has anyone ever tried making hawthorn berry and rosehip ketchup? Both of these are available right now at Fall Equinox, and they're packed with anti-inflammatory compounds. You'll find a link to my hawthorn and rosehip ketchup in the chat. Hawthorn berries give you flavonoids like quercetin, while rosehips are loaded with vitamin C. Together, they create this amazing synergistic effect. Plus, it's a fun way to preserve autumn's bounty while making something for your family that they will actually want to eat. Start incorporating warming spices now: cinnamon, ginger, cardamom. Transition from raw summer salads to more cooked, grounding foods. Begin evening tea rituals to help your nervous system prepare for longer nights. And start making bone broths and warming soups. What's your favorite way to prepare for autumn? I'm seeing some great ideas in the chat. Yes, you can get elderberry in France. I actually have 3 elderberry trees that are growing in my back garden that were here before I came. Okay, let's check the chat here. Ruth Joy Miller says, "Hi, Carolyn. I've noticed in many of your recipes you use maple syrup. Is there a reason as to why you do that? Do you like the fake sugar like erythritol?" I avoid fake sugars if at all possible. If I'm going to eat sugar, I want the real thing. And I mean by that cane sugar. However, some people don't want cane. And so honey, local honey, or maple syrup, or if you're in the Southwest or in Mexico, South America, it would be agave syrup, natural syrups for sweetening. Tamara Rager Art says, "Yes, I'm sleeping longer in the mornings. I can hardly drag myself out of bed. I normally get up at 6, but when 6 comes, I don't want to get up. But I don't feel that way in the summer." Kelt says, "I can smell autumn in the air also. I can smell the apple pie that will be baked soon." Oh, yes. Ruth Joy Muller says, "I've been collecting elderberry and freezing it." That's a good thing to do too. "I love ginger and honey tea," says Irene. Yes. And if you have teenagers or you suffer from period cramps, there is almost nothing better than a cup of very hot ginger tea. And I had a client once whose teenage daughter was just crippled by cramps, but she couldn't take aspirin or Midol or anything like that to school because drugs of any kind were forbidden. So I suggested that she get a candy box to go, clip top candy box to go in her purse and fill it with slices of comfit or candied ginger root. And she began to take that, and she, within 1 month of cramping, she completely was able to take care of her cramps. And her mother told me also that eating the ginger helped cure or make go away or whatever really bad breath and a gut issue that her daughter had had. And ginger, particularly dried ginger or candied ginger, is very good for preserving meats and as an anti-inflammatory. Tamara Rager Art says, "I love to make curry." Oh, I love curry. Is it raining where you all are? It is just, it's not pouring, but it is cold enough to have a shawl on. And I don't think I'm going to have to worry about sun coming in the window today because it is pretty darn gray out there. Too late for elderberry, says Sandra. I have a nasty cold. Came on quickly and expected it to go just as quickly. I make 6 soup, garlic, onion, poblano pepper, tomatoes, broth. That'll kill just about anything, won't it? Especially the pepper. I have not been to a North African restaurant to get some couscous. I make my own. I make it not only with, I use it when I want to thicken something. I don't just make couscous and pour a ragu on top of it, whether it's curry or a Moroccan tagine. I sometimes will sprinkle a couple of tablespoons of couscous in something that's not it's not thick enough for me, and it just takes a minute, and whatever I've prepared then is plenty big enough, thick enough. I don't need to have bread or rice or pasta with it. But I love North African food, particularly Moroccan. Yes, it's raining in Nebraska. Great. Yeah, that candied ginger for period cramps is absolutely amazing. And if you have gut issues of any kind, candied ginger is enjoyable to eat, and it is very good for your gut. John asks, what is the role of the mind in the healing process? Will medicine work better with a non-bitter mind? Absolutely. There are several proverbs that come to mind. One is, it's better to dwell in the corner of a rooftop than to live with a woman who's, I forget what it is, whether it's her voice drips like acid or she's cantankerous and complaining all the time. You get the drift. If you are not at peace, you cannot expect your gut to work. You can't expect your digestion to work. You can't expect to sleep good at night. You just can't expect good outcomes if your mind is not at peace and is not somewhat content. One of the best things that you can do is pause and take 3 or 4 very deep breaths. Put your hand on your belly button, sit up straight, and take a very deep breath, so deep that you feel your hands being pushed out by your belly button. Hold it. Then you let that breath out and you go, as you push that breath out. You take the time to do that 3 to 5 times, and you will be amazed at how it resets how you feel, not only in your body, but in your mind. I recommend that you do that at least once a day. Taking time to stop and smell the roses, taking time to make a fresh cup of tea, taking time to just pause for a moment. It's amazing what that will do for you. I will be making sauerkraut soon, says Tammy J. I love fermented foods. They are absolutely incredible for your gut. If you are having gut issues, go slow on a fermented foods to begin with, a couple of teaspoons at a time, and add a little more the next day and a little more the next day. Give your gut a chance to get used to it. If you haven't started it before or used it before, it is medicinal. Fermented foods are very medicinal. But if you're not used to it, be kind to your tummy and take it slow. I do not know the Arabic name, but he or she says, amazing. We grew up eating couscous with watermelon, raisins, and honey sometimes. I'm Algerian. Think of couscous as plain cornflakes, or wheat flakes, or rye flakes, or rice flakes, or a rice cake, or a little bit of pasta. Think of it as a base to put all kinds of good stuff on. And it will also thicken up stuff. It's wonderful as a base, like rice or pasta would be, to put a tagine contents, whether it's meat or vegetables, would be really great. What do you recommend for a stomach virus? Quarantine. Wash your hands very thoroughly. Stay away from people. Wash everything you touch and your dishes. Make sure everything is clean and be gentle. They talk about chicken soup for a reason. That's real thin broth or weak tea, or just go to bed. Try to go to sleep. If you can go to bed and go to sleep, it's amazing how your body can take care of whatever bug you've got. Make sure you have lots of liquids. Sandra O, a contentious woman. Yes, contentious woman. Can't you just hear the acid dripping in the background and her nails on the blackboard and just, sorry, I can't help that. I've run into a few of those. They purported to be promised to be friends. Yeah, right. Kelt, Northeast Atlantic, rained all weekend, but was desperately needed to help wildfires. Today it's sunny. Oh, I've been here 3 summers in France, and this was the hottest summer in the 3 years I've been here. And it was almost Idaho hot. I mean, it was almost 100 degrees a couple of days, and it was absolutely enervating. You couldn't hardly do a thing. And I had to go to Ambazac, which is about 70 kilometers away, for a doctor's appointment. And I could not believe the dead trees. Not just it was fall coming on and the leaves were turning and falling. It wasn't that. The trees were dead. The bushes were dead. The grass was dead. The hedgerows were dead. It was absolutely awful. And when I went to the grocery store this week, I noticed after a couple of days of rain that it doesn't look green again, but it doesn't look dead. It doesn't look dried out and dead like it did. John says, I'm going through some things. What are the factors I should consider when deciding to share my struggles with others in my life? What has been your experience with this? Are you familiar with the ACE score questionnaire? ACE, Adverse Childhood Experiences. Google it. When you begin to deal with forces in your life over which you have no control, or which you do have control over but you haven't dealt with yet, when you begin to address or deal with issues, you will find that it will trigger other crises and soul searching and other things. And my advice would be to take that exam, get your score, know what the scores mean, and then go away for the weekend. Leave your phone in your car, go to a hotel, take room service, don't get out of bed, sleep, drink lots of water, pee all you have to, and just absolutely veg for 48 hours. If you do that, whatever it is that's bothering you will sort of sift itself out like popcorn kernels in a bowl, and you'll be able to pinpoint which issues need to be addressed first. But be warned, sometimes even more crises and stress will occur. And just remember that you can handle it. You just deal with it one thing at a time, and you take the most important first, and just be careful and go for it. You can do it. Deborah Telequist says, good morning. I'm in Eastern Washington. Yes, very dry in Eastern Washington, right next to Idaho. Very, very dry. This past week has been high 90s and climbing to 103. Oh, good grief. I'm an old dusty farmhouse with no cooling. Well, I'm in an old dusty stone house, and it's plenty cool here if I open the windows. But I know your pain, but be thankful that you're in Eastern Washington, where it's dry heat and not. Can you imagine 103 degrees in Seattle? My word, you'd melt into a puddle on the sidewalk. Do I have a ceiling fan for the heat? No, I don't need that. There are two huge banks of windows in the two front rooms on the front of my house that faces the street. And above the doors of each of those rooms is what's called a transom window. And it cranks open ever so slightly, or about 12 inches. And if I crack the back door or take the draft guard off the bottom, I get a nice, beautiful breeze through this house. I don't need air conditioning. I don't even need a fan. In fact, you'll see that I have a shawl on my shoulders because it's raining outside, and it is just shy of chilly, but that's nice compared to how hot it was. Abyss Apocalypse says, yes, many dead trees in North Florida too. We've had a very dry summer. Cindy Erickson, any update on getting your garden started? Nope, except I'm going to have to get out there and do something myself. I have a couple of not scraping shovels, but it's not a trenching shovel. It's a flat bladed spade, and I can actually take that and scrape up as I go, and take the very top layer of dirt and the grass and weeds, and then I pull it over onto a pile, and I take another shovel full and do that. And if I go from the back door straight out to the back wall at the end of the garden and then start making paths off from that, it will get done eventually. Okay, Deborah Telkos, I have two fans, I assume she's saying. One above my big kitchen table, the fan pushes cool air that bounces off the tabletop. Oh, wow, great. I'm in Eastern Washington as well, says Tammy, very close to Idaho state line. I lived in Boise and Caldwell most of my life, so I'm familiar with Ontario and Unity and yeah, up in that area. Rick Flood says, dreaming of France. Yes, that stirrup hoe will make short work of that. Except I have a jungle of almost 6 foot tall branches of dead and drying nettle, stinging nettle. And those things have to be cut with either a scythe or a strimmer, which I do not have, or secateurs or handheld pruning little shear thingies. And you just have to grab a couple and take them off and them over, and grab some more, because you can't, if you don't have to deal with almost 6 feet of dried branches, then you can, the skimming shovel will scrape it up and move everything over. But I tried to do it without taking the tops of the things off, and it won't work. No, I have not considered 2 to 3 foot high raised container beds, Sandra, because of the amount of expense that it would be to fill them and their purchase. The raised beds that I have envisioned, where I dig the path out and pile it to the left onto layers of cardboard, and then that will smother what's underneath, then the cardboard, then the path dig out on top of that, and then hay or straw or compost or dead leaves or a combination of all that covered with black plastic for 6 weeks or through the winter, and I will have incredible soil in the spring. And it will be raised somewhat, not a lot, but I can deal with raising it more, or defining the paths even more with edging or bricks or wattle and wattle fencing, whatever, to delineate them. Are there youths around who can help? I was thinking the other day that in the States, there are used to be, when I was a kid, a long time ago in the 50s and 60s, there was stuff called vocational education that was done away with. I do not know in the States if they're bringing that back, but they need to, because with AI coming, people who actually can do things with their hands are going to be, they're going to have a good job market. Welders, plumbers, mechanics, etc. France, I believe, has a system of something like vocational ed. And I thought what I would do is, once school starts again, and I'm not sure if it starts tomorrow or quite shortly. Anyway, there are some what we would call high schools or lycees around, and I thought that I would go and see if there are that type of training available in the schools, and if they need some place for the kids to practice their skills. And if so, then there's a bunch of stuff around here that those kids could learn to do, and I would be happy to pay them. And I think that they would benefit, and as I would as well, from that. It would be similar to WOOF. I know what that is, but I am so old and set in my ways, I would be hard pressed to put up with somebody around here, even if they were helping. If they were here from 8 to 6 or 9 to 5, and I could lock the door on them and get them out of here, yeah, I could handle that. But in the backyard in a tent or upstairs in the room, I'm sorry, I can't go there right now. Maybe for a future discussion, I'd love to hear from you about following your passion as a living. I feel a bit stuck in my career, but not how to change. Let me tell you a story. I remember a gentleman of my acquaintance who originally was a steward on a private jet. And he married a British girl. He was American. He married a British girl. And in order to take care of that wife and the now 2 children, 2 boys, he had a job he absolutely hated. So every morning when he got up and shaved his face and looked in the mirror, he hated where he was going to work. Can you imagine doing that day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year? It's not a good thing. I think that too many people of whatever nationality or country they live in have bit into the false promise of keeping up with the Joneses. And if you get a very fabulous education and go into debt to get it, you are guaranteed a good job, and you can always go from here to here and here and here, and you'll always be able to go up. I'm sorry, but life doesn't work that way. And being able to look yourself in the mirror in the morning and be happy with what you see, and you can't wait to get out the door to get to your job, whether that is across the backyard into the barn to take care of your animals or your tractor or your garden, or whether it's getting on the bus or the Uber or driving your car or your electric scooter to work, whatever it is, whatever your job is and wherever you go, if you can't love it and you aren't excited to do it, you have a horrible life. I'm sorry to tell you. It will eat away at your guts. It will eat away at your mind. It will eat away at your relationships, male or female, young or old. That is a horrible way to end up your life. If you're stuck in that, or you fear you may be stuck in that, then you need to get serious and decide what it is you really want to do. What do you love? What just lights your fire? And then you need to find a way to either get a job, change jobs, or make your own job doing that. One of the ways in this day and age, and I have 213 college credits, could not get a degree, even a BA, even though I was in the honors program, because I could not pass the math sequence, even with tutors. So I just got on with my life. But I had too much education, but not enough to get a degree in what I wanted to do, which was to be an anthropologist or an art historian or a combination of the both. So I became an administrative assistant. And I was very good at pushing papers. I was very good at filing. I was very good at remembering where things were. In fact, I had a boss who had a room full of stacks of stuff, and I was not allowed in the room except when he would call me either in, or he would call me on the phone from 600 miles away and say, go walk in the door 6 steps to the right, stick your hand out about belly button level, and you'll find a yellow folder. Bring it to me to the phone and read me the contents. And I would go 6 steps in the office and turn right, and right there about belly button height was a yellow folder, and I pulled it out, and it's exactly what he wanted. So I was very good at that sort of thing. But let me tell you, with AI, whether it's Chat or Claude or Perplexity or Grok or whichever one you like or don't like, you have the ability at your fingertips to ask those machines how to fix your life. Let me tell you what I did. Somewhere I read online, and this is posted in one of the posts on how to start on YouTube. But somewhere I read, don't just start posting videos on YouTube. Let the algorithm, let YouTube figure out who, what, and what you are before you begin posting. So I spent 2 solid weeks, 8 to 10 hours a day, looking at everything imaginable on YouTube. I made a list of what I liked, why I liked it. I made a list of what I hated and why I hated it. I made a list of what I thought I wanted out of all of this information, what type of education and my writing style and examples of my writing and my medical lab work. And I gave Claude absolutely every cotton picking thing I could think of that made me me, what made Carolyn tick, and why I liked what so-and-so was doing and how I thought I could do better. I didn't like what so-and-so was doing because, and I would never do that kind of stuff. So I gave all of this information to Claude. And I said, now tell me who I am and what I do, what I should do. Oh my word. It was incredible what he did for me. Okay. If you want to know, when I started my YouTube in March of this year, I went within 6 weeks, I had thousands of subscribers, way more than I needed. I had thousands of watch hours, way more than I needed to get monetized. And somehow I went in and started cleaning up stuff in the background and ended up, are you sure you want to do this? Yes, I do. I want to clean this up. Boom, there went my YouTube channel. No way to retrieve it. I was suicidal for about 36 hours. I mean, I was just beside myself. I didn't know what to do. And I thought, well, hell, I'll just get up and do it again. So I did. I got up and I I had been smart enough to save all my videos and all my transcripts and all that stuff, and I reposted them. But you know what? The algorithm didn't know me anymore. Okay. I had to start over again. And I did. So I did anyway. It was now the 29th of May. I had 364 subscribers, some of whom had actually found me and were really glad to have refound me because they had been previous subscribers and wondered where I'd gone. But no matter what I did, the algorithm wasn't picking up my stuff. And in the meantime, French Connections HCB had come and interviewed me, and their interview went live at 8 o'clock on Friday night, the 29th or 30th of May. I can't remember what it was. By 8 o'clock in the morning the next day, I had 14,000 subscribers and almost enough watch time to get monetized again. I had everything I needed by the 4th of June. So within a week, it was absolutely amazing. But that interview was what did it, because that interview with French Connections, Lizzie, who interviewed me, and my responses to her, was the algorithm just went nuts. It thought it was great. It knew exactly who to give my content to. I had people come to me and say they couldn't believe that, I mean, I was just like them. They were just like me. It was the algorithm put me and my interview, and still does to this day, before all kinds of people. And this question that I'm answering is, maybe for a future discussion, we'd like to hear about following your passion as a living. Okay. If you've seen my interview, I was passionate in that interview. I mean, I let it all hang out. I didn't hold back at all. I think I even cussed. I mean, I was as real and raw as it gets. And that is what the majority of you people who are my followers and my subscribers, you love whatever that is about me, because it's speaking to something inside of you too. And so you need to follow your passion. You need to be passionate about people. You need to be spitting mad about stuff. You need to be just chomping at the bit to do things, because there's something inside of you that's just trying to get out to do it. Find a way to monetize that. Find a way to sell that. Find a way to make an ebook and sell it, or start a YouTube channel after you do your homework. Don't do it unless you do your homework. Within 6 months to a year, you can have a totally different life. But it will change you. So be prepared for that too. Are there grants available to preserve historic buildings where you are, says Abbas Apocalypse? Or is the paperwork not worth it? I'm in the process right now of renewing my visa. And so until I get that in hand, get my card carrying thing in my wallet again, I'm not going to do anything like that. Because I'm a senior citizen, there are other things available to me as well. But I feel morally that it is wrong for me to take advantage of that when there are other people who are hurting a lot worse than me, that I would prefer that whatever money is available be for them, because God willing, I'm going to get monetized someday, and I will be able to take care of myself. No matter what I want to do, I should be able to do it with a little bit of saving and frugality. But yes, there are all kinds of programs, and the French are very generous, but it also comes with a stack of paperwork, months to wade through, and there is no speeding it up. GC says, since there are no screens on windows in most of Europe, what about mosquitoes flying in the house? I have been here 3 summers and had the windows open and the doors open, and I have yet to be bit by one mosquito in 3 summers. I have been bit by biting flies. I haven't even been bit by a gnat, but biting flies, and nasty buggers that they are. This happened to me one hot summer in Amsterdam, and the huge black mosquitoes ate us up. But you were right by the water, and you had water all around you, and mosquitoes live in water. And where I'm at, there is a river about, I don't know how far it is. 5 or 6 blocks from my back door to the east is a little river, and there is a fountain with a pond that's across the street and up, but it's a couple blocks up, and so there's no open water. I don't have a pond in the backyard, so there's no open water for mosquitoes. But I have not been bit in 3 summers with windows and doors open in this house. But I also live smack dab in the middle of France, where it can be hot and it can be dry and it can be cold and it can be warm and etc. Hello from Minnesota, says RKJ. I watched your video on June 18th. In mid-July, I purchased a house in Mainstadt, Ozance, France. I will be in France mid-October for a new beginning in life. Thank you. You betcha. Did you use French connections? And if you did, I hope you told them my name, because I get an affiliate link for that. Ramona Heim says, Voc Rehab is a great help to many people. Yes. There are a lot of children who telling them that they need to go to college and get a degree and they're guaranteed a good job, and all, that is not good. It's not fair to them. It's not. It's one of the. There are some kids who are so good with their hands, to put them behind a desk would be criminal. Let them find a way to something that they love. But the key is finding what you love and making a job out of it. In today's day and age with the internet, there is no reason in the world why you can't figure out a way to learn something or do something and make a living. Tamara says, this is why I paint. Yes. Painting, embroidery, gardening, cooking, mechanicking, pulling out the dipstick and smelling it like the shade tree mechanic used to do when I was a kid, and he could tell you what was wrong, whether you were burning transmission fluid or whether you were burning oil or whatever. I mean, they could smell. They knew what was going on. If someone has, male or female, has that kind of talent, let them make a living doing that. They will be so much happier. Allison D, look at Chani, Japan. 49-year-old woman with a good job in Australia moved to Japan. Life is a journey. Yes, it is. So you have to be willing, you have to learn what it is you want to do. You need to prepare to do it. Don't jump unless you're prepared and you know what you're doing, and then go for it. Don't let anybody hold you back. You will be so happy that you will be able then to share that with other people, including the people who wanted to hold you back. Whatever the reason was, you will help them too. Thank you. Yes, 25,000 subscribers, 1/4 of the way to my first 100,000 subscriber plaque. And I'm gonna stick it on the wall right there so it shows big. Joy says, thank you, Carolyn, for your anti-inflammatory reset in the form of menus and recipes. I'm very grateful. I'm thankful that it works for you. It works for just about anybody, and it's the type of thing that you can, depending upon what style of cooking that you do, by eating non-inflammatory foods, you can combine all kinds of stuff in any cuisine and be so much more happy and healthy. Rick Flood, Dreaming of France. Everything happens for a reason. That's right. You just have to make sure you're not standing in your own way and that you're ready to go when the moment arises. And never be afraid to do it. Regret for not having done it is 10 times worse. Tamara says, that's how I found you with French Connections. Yes. Ramona says, I had an interview with Richard this week, working on getting my plan together to move to France. Yes. And then today in my email, there was a letter, an email from somebody who is trying to tell, and he's probably right in some fashion, but he's making a living telling people how to leave France because it's going to hell in a handbasket, and politics and education and blah, 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 and what countries to go to that don't charge taxes and what countries to go to that are safe, and yada, yada, yada. And I go, I understand perfectly what he's doing and why he's doing it. And I will tell you that he's giving very good information, but some of the countries that he's recommending that you go to, I wouldn't go there if I won the lottery or they paid my way. I wouldn't do it. There's something to be said for not going totally off the diving board in the deep end with no water in the bottom. Although people probably look at me and probably think I was nuttier than a fruitcake and how in the world could I do it? And, here it is 3 years later and I'm doing okay. I'm not living in the pink yet, but I'm doing okay. And I'm happy and I'm helping people. And man, you can't ask for more than that. John Mark says, I've been ill and gradually making it back into society. I'm sorry to hear that, Jean-Marc, and I hope that you are getting better. And I'm hoping that because you're here and I recognize your name, that you have benefited from some of the information that I've given. I hope that is true. Trying to give a copy but get rerouted payment. I have no idea what that is. Jean-Marc says, yes, it was agreed on grants and how to have and to have a new roof. It wasn't worth the hassle in the end. Yes. I have discussed, you know what, when I looked at the realty photos that the real estate agent sent me when I was interested in this place, the ridge line, I had seen enough YouTube videos on renovating in France that the ridge line on this property was perfectly straight. There were no cattywampus or missing tiles or holes in the roof. And the interior pictures also showed that there was no water damage or problems on the inside. And I could lock the front door. The roof didn't leak. I could lock the front door, and the walls hadn't fallen down in almost 200 years. So, hey, man, I was good to go. As far as I was concerned, I made out like a bandit. This may be like living in a glorified tent, but the roof doesn't leak. Can't say that for some tents. And the front door locks. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm doing just fine, guys. I really am. Does coffee have any medicinal properties beyond suppressing tiredness? Yes. Coffee, depending upon who you listen to, is good for your heart or not good for your heart. It is good for your spirits. It is good for your stress level. As long as you don't, you'll notice in the information on the video that I gave on coffee, tea, and chocolate, that when coffee and tea and chocolate were first begun to be drunk in France or in Europe, they never did it on an empty stomach. They always ate something with it. And today we normally eat fatty pastries, rich, fatty food, butter and cream and sugar and eggs and all kinds of good stuff in the pastries, chocolate that we eat with coffee. I had an Ethiopian woman contact me and say that when in Ethiopia and Yemen, when they began to drink coffee originally, they drank it with some sort of fat in it. In other words, what we call bullet coffee today. Scientifically, if you have fat with your coffee, whether that's ghee or coconut oil or chocolate, cocoa butter, heavy cream, and I would recommend heavy cream, not half and half. It normally when people drink coffee, they get this, and then they get a crash. But when you have fat with your coffee, you get this gentle curve, and the caffeine lasts longer in how you feel it and how it affects your body. So I recommend coffee for some things. There's nothing better in the morning than sitting and drinking. I only drink 1 cup of coffee in the morning, and I put some sort of additive to it, whether it's a combination of chocolate powder, cayenne, and cinnamon, or a spice mixture called Rasen Hanut. I don't know how to pronounce it right. It means top of the shop in Arabic. It's a mixture of 9 or so spices with a hot component to it of some kind, or barat, which is a North African combination that may or may not contain rose petals, cinnamon, and black pepper. And then I drink, and I put my scoop of coffee grounds in the bottom of my cup with my spice. I pour boiling water on it. I stir it up really good, and I skim off the foam. My French grandfather called that money. You skim off the foam and sip it up. There's something about when you drink coffee, and if you drink it hot enough, you almost have to drink it that way, that intake of air and oxygen across your palate with the caffeine and the coffee. Don't ask me, but I just know it works better. That sort of thing, coffee is just good for you. It's sort of like soul satisfying sometimes. And drinking it in the morning in the sunshine, either out on the terrace or in front of the window with the sun on your face, resets your cortisol. You're taking time to sit and drink your coffee, not run out the door drinking it in a Starbucks cup and spilling it all over yourself on the way. That's no way to do it. Enjoy your coffee. Hello, my granddaughter wants to know if you have any pets. I don't have any pets currently. France is really big on vaccinations and spays and neuters and all kinds of vet bills. And until I can afford to give my little critter all the legal stuff I have to give it, I'm not going to get a doggy. But I would love to get another little long-haired dachshund. I had one with long red hair before. Her name was Red, and I absolutely loved that little doggy. I would love to get one just like her. I can't have a cat currently. I would love to have a cat because I have a terrible mouse problem. But the stairwell, oh, and there goes the thunder. Hopefully the internet will last. There is an opening between the cellier or the sand-floored cellar and one section of the stairway. So until that is either enclosed or has chicken wire or hardware cloth or something to exclude a cat from that area, my cellier would just turn into a great big sandbox, cat box, litter box. So I can't have a kitty cat. If and when I can resolve that issue, I would like to have a dog and a cat. But again, according to French legal system, that's lots of money and lots of vet bills and spays and neuters and anyway, to be legal anyway. RKJ says, I did use your name at French Connections. Great. This South River Loop Homestead says, I like your common sense, knowledge, and grit. Thank you. It's really hard to shut me up, and I those who know me well would probably say that my feet are in my mouth clear up to my knees. I have been known to do that in the past anyway. How do I stop standing in my own way and get out of the fear hole? Again, John, get away from people for 48 hours, go to a hotel, go camping in the woods, leave your phone at home or at least locked up in your jockey box so nobody can get to it, including yourself, and unplug and sleep lots and pee lots and drink lots of liquid and don't get out of bed and just veg, have a good book, just listen to the birds and the bees and the babbling brook, whatever it is, however you get away. I recommend a 48-hour vacation away from people and take stock of your life. Spend enough time doing it that you actually can get in touch with your feelings and desires and wants and dislikes, and make a list and start ticking it off and start what you can. Do things slowly, one step at a time. Always learn and prepare before you do anything radical. If what you want to do or feel you should do requires counseling or help in any way, do not be afraid to get it. But you need to start. And that's the easiest way to start. You have to know what it is you want to do and why you want to do it. Has any, I'm going to see if I can find, there is a fabulous TED Talk by Simon Sinek called Getting to Know Your Why or something like that. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, I'm going to put the link in the chat. This interview by Simon Sinek, a TED Talk from 2009, 15 years ago, is absolutely fabulous. Let's see. Listen to that TED Talk, John, and even if you have to listen to it a couple of times, listen to it, really just close your eyes and let him talk and listen and take notes, whatever, and then just start some steps. Listening to anything by Simon Sinek will be of benefit if you're trying to figure out what you want to or don't want to do, regardless of what it is. Whether it's fear or a new job, or you want to ask somebody to marry you, or whatever it is. I highly recommend starting with that one and binge watching some of his content. You will gain confidence and really come out on top. But you just need to start. Rick Flood, Dreaming of France. Following your dreams does not involve a discount. Sometimes it does, but not often. Bernadette Novak says, I'm nuttier than a fruitcake, right along with you. Oh, I wish my kids could hear that, knowing I'm not the only one. I'm 90% sure, says GC, that I'm moving to France with my grown son and fiance and our 2 grandkids, but frankly, I'm a little scared. Have to learn the language, sell my home at business, etc. Told FR Connections about you. Thank you. There's absolutely nothing to be afraid of. Fall in love with the house you want to go to. Learn about the area. Fall in love with the area. Once you get here and get installed in your place and go out for groceries a couple times and go have coffee at the tobacco and buy a newspaper or whatever, and just people watch in a cafe like they do in Paris, and just kind of soak up the French way of doing things. Really, the only thing that I really miss about America is being able to shop on Sunday, being able to shop later in the evening than 7 o'clock at night. And take out food that's tangy sweet. And in my case, it was Korean cup bop, noodles with cabbage and shredded beef and this incredible sweet, sour, tangy hot sauce. Oh my goodness, it was to die for. Those are the only things I miss about France. Now I found some recipes where I can make that sauce, so I'm going to figure out a way to get that cup bop, whatever it is. But I really miss being able to shop on Sundays. I did discover that there are a couple of big things like Butt or starts with an L, something or other, that sell building supplies that are open on Sundays, but only in the bigger cities like Limoges, and that's 100 kilometers away. So that's the only thing I really miss. You will really love the quiet, laid back, particularly if you're not in a big city or with a lot of people. You will really like the French way of life. The street lights come on at 6 in the morning, but the clock on the bell tower doesn't start chiming till 7, and it goes off at 10 o'clock at night, and the street lights go off at 11. And there is hardly any traffic all night long. And I live on a street 18 inches away from where the traffic is. And there's no traffic until about 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and there's 1 or 2 cars that go by, and I'm pretty sure they're farm workers going to work to feed the animals. And then at 6:30 or so, the traffic starts. It stops again at noonish to 2 o'clock. There's very little traffic between those 2 hours. And then it's hot and heavy again until about 6:30, and everybody's rushing to get home. and have dinner, and they eat it much later here than they do in the States. People in the States are used to eating anywhere between 5:30 and 7. They don't start eating till 7:30. You can't even get a table at a restaurant until 7:30. And they just eat much later here in the evening. But there's hardly any traffic on Sundays, unless they're in hay season, and then they're hot and heavy on Sunday too. But other than that, it's like people know how to stop and slow down. It's amazing. You'll love it. Tamara said, I tried to buy you a coffee last week and it didn't go through. You're the second one to say something like that. I don't understand why, because I thanked a whole bunch of people this morning for coffee in the thank you notes. Where was I born in Kentucky? I was born in the Murray Hospital, which I believe is in Graves County in far western Kentucky, close to the Ohio and the Mississippi. It's on the Ohio River, almost to where the confluence is for the Mississippi. But I was born in the hospital in Murray, but my parents lived in Benton, which I think is in Callaway County, or maybe I've got the two counties switched up. But anyway, Callaway and Graves County, I was born in that area. I lived there until I was 13 months old, and then we went back to Idaho, and I grew up in Idaho. Bernadette Novak says, you're where you're meant to be, and I hope to be in France soon too. I am. I love it here. I found a town that was offering a property for €1, heavily subsidized to promote rehabilitation in Amber. I have heard about different things like that. And yes, there are, again, you need to if you find a house, fall in love with the house first, then fall in love with the area. And if you have to change house or area because you don't have love with whatever, do it. But recognize that as in my case, the roof doesn't leak in the front door, I can lock it. And if you have plumbing and electricity, you don't need much else, seriously. You can get by with a whole lot less. Anyway, I think renovation in France is a national pastime. And there are people in France, foreigners in France, Brits, other people, Americans, who are making a living off of their YouTube channel renovating their house. So it's possible, okay? Please do a video on your coffee making and coffee info. Man, it's a piece of cake. It's a scoop of coffee, hot water, all the everything down the hatch. But I will. I'll give you some different different recipes for additives for the coffee, because spices and herbs in hot water, whether it's coffee water or chocolate water or hot wine, like hot spiced wine, I mean, warmth, liquid, and spices and herbs, you can't beat that for good medicine. Maybe a dram of liquor in there too. Love coffee, but it is not good for your teeth. I am adding caffeine tablets to my morning routine. Brush your teeth with soda and salt. You'll get rid of the coffee stains. And if you really want to get rid of them, put a little turmeric in there too, and that'll help too. Ruth Joy Muller, I put cayenne pepper, black pepper together with caffeine-free coffee and cocoa powder and some vanilla extract and oat milk. I also use this with real coffee too. I'm a firm believer, if you're going to drink Coke, as in Coca-Cola, it ought to be real Coca-Cola, sugar, caffeine, the whole ball of wax. When you start replacing stuff with synthetic chemicals or substitutions, you're causing problems. And decaf, making decaf coffee is a chemical process. I don't like chemical processes. Chemical processes are not good for you. The real food and drink is good for you. If it's only that means only 1 cup of coffee a day, so be it. But use real food, real drinks, real ingredients. No, I do not like Keurig pods. I would not. That's too much convenience, too much electricity, too much expense for the machine, too much recycling plastic and garbage to get rid of, and it's too much. No. If you want coffee, either grind your own beans or you buy it ground and you make your own coffee with your own. All you need is a tea kettle and boiling water. You don't even need and I'm not talking instant coffee, I'm talking ground coffee. That's all you need is a cup and a spoon and ground coffee in the bottom and boiling water and some fat and spices, and you're good to go. Good medicine, good for you. McClara 222 says you can get pet insurance in France, but it's expensive. Yes, when I looked into what it would cost me to have a pet and be legal, and since I'm a visitor in this country and I'm here by the good grace of the French government, even though I own this property full outright, I do not want to incur anyone's wrath. There's nothing worse than dealing with a clipboard carrying, ticket issuing, whatever. John Mark Bordeaux says a €1 house means lots of liabilities and you have to renovate the property. Yes, you have to. The operative word is have to renovate the property. That's part of the contract. When I bought my house, none of that was attached. The notaires report told me I did not have asbestos, I did not have lead paint, I didn't have this and I didn't have that, and I did have this and I did have that. And so I had, even though I bought this property sight unseen, I knew the roof didn't leak. I knew I could lock the front door. I knew I had running water, albeit not in the house, it's in the garage. But I was not required as part of the contract and purchase agreement to do anything other than get the key and open the door and lock it behind me. Yes, if you bought a €1 thing, there would be all kinds of subsidies and paperwork, and you must do it the way they want it done, etc. And you must do it at certain times, by certain times. Yeah, but if that's the only way you can do it and you are prepared and can handle that, then I say go for it. There are some incredible properties that are beautiful, and if they had some tender loving care and some fix up, they would be magnificent properties. Really, John Mark, it's almost free. I'm teasing. There are pages and pages of what you have to do to keep ownership of the home. Yeah, that's exactly right. Lots of paperwork. Um, Sandra O's John Mark says to Sandra O, I have to get the roof inspected before I have permission to get tiles and holes done and rotten beams replaced. Yeah. One of the benefits of going through French Connections is that you have the option of dealing with a contractor, general contractor, who can handle the renovation ins and outs for you. So what John Mark is talking about, all of the bureaucratic puddle jumping you have to do. And the French never went to, how do I say this? The French never went to customer service school. There is no customer service as we are used to in the States. There is no such thing as instantly getting something done. That is not even in their vocabulary. In fact, I almost think they get a malicious delight in making it harder. The harder they make it, the better they like it. And I know that's an oversimplification, and I know but some of their business practices and their rules and regs just make no sense whatsoever. But that's an American's point of view too. We have a totally different system. We have a totally different use case. We come from a totally different whatever. So you must take that into consideration when you come here. Know your why, the absolute best video to watch when you feel stuck. I've listened to it over and over again while out for a jog or a nature walk. It was life-changing for me, one of my favorite videos. Thank you, Irene, for that testimonial. I felt that way when I listened to that video too. And I have heard him give variations of that talk and interviews and podcasts over and over to different, coming at it from different directions. And when you know why you're doing what you're doing, it's easier for you to make decisions and stick to them, or to be willing to change if faced with changed circumstances. If you know why you're doing what you're doing, it's so much easier. John Mark says, I have to move as I have noisy English neighbors from the UK next to me. We are all so different. You know, the Brits and the French were fighting over each other's thrones for centuries. I don't know why they wanted the other ones, but, you know, and yet you can't get any more different than a French and a Brit. I mean, but again, they eat different food, they breathe different air. Everything about them is different. They're all white and free and 21 and all that, but they're just different. South Loop River Homestead says, where we live, if we want interesting food, we have to make it ourselves. Yes, and then you know what goes in it too. Yali's Rare Exotic Fruit says, what are the areas that you would recommend to retire to besides where you live? If you want dry air, I came from Idaho where it was high and dry, high desert, dry, blue skies, fresh air, no humidity, or not very low humidity. Where I am here in France, I would almost, in the middle, smack dab in the middle of France where I am, I would describe it as being in Midwest haze. more often than not. We do get blue skies here, brilliant blue skies, but it's because there is the air is moving either up from the Mediterranean, in from the Atlantic, or down from north. And as a result, in the middle of France, then the air moves and it brightens up and this blue sky comes out. But if that is not happening, everything kind of, and so you get these kind of Midwest, milky, hazy skies. It's not necessarily dry. It's not necessarily humid. It's sort of like the middle of France. But south of me, to the west, south of me to the east, along the Mediterranean, west along the Atlantic, it is very dry, down towards Spain and Monaco and Nice and Marseille and all of that, much drier. In fact, the least populated department in France, and I forget which one it is. I live in Cruz, that's number 2, was very high and dry looking like Idaho was. So depending upon what kind of weather you like or think you want to like, depending upon whether you like mountains or rivers or deserty or cities, or you need to decide all those things. That helps you choose where you want to go. But again, you fall in love with the house first, and then the area, and then you transplant yourself, and you will kind of settle in, and you will be happy. Is eating later in the evening okay for your digestion, says Henny Rose. Well, according to everything I've ever heard and mostly read, you shouldn't really eat after, 6 o'clock at night. It gives your digestion a chance to work before you go to bed at night and kind of lay over, and things don't work as fast and smooth as they do when you're sitting up. But the French, I don't think the French have ever eaten at the times of the day that we did in America, i.e. between 5 and 6:30, no later than 7. I mean, if you're going out to a fancy restaurant in America, you might go out at 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30. If you are getting back from the cinema or from the theater or the ballet, you may go out for coffee and ice cream, or a drink late in the evening, late. But that's not normal. So I don't know whether it's more healthy. The French seem to be healthy, and they've done it for centuries. So I don't know. I think it depends. It may depend on your culture and what you're used to. But your culture and what you're used to can change depending upon where you are. You just have to try. I don't understand why the closed captioning is not working. Someone said that it doesn't work until after a live does whatever it has to do before that YouTube does whatever it does to it. If it doesn't show up that you can get infinitude, if it doesn't show up that you can get a Spanish translation, let me know in the comments of this video, or send me an email on my channel description email, and I will transcribe this for you in Spanish and give it to you. Yali, I did get your coffee today. I sent you a thank you note. I remember your name. Oh, Miss Clara 222 says, do you miss being in a large city? Hell no. I left Idaho and Boise because it had become way too big, way too overrun with too many people, strip malls, and traffic. I got the hell out of Dodge, pardon my French, and I live here, so I can say that. Walking Trees says, that's how I love my coffee too. Cowboy coffee. Yep. Rick says, the downside to the house and there was that you ended up with a mortgage, and I want to avoid that. He does love the idea of rehabbing a stale residential area. Well, come to Clunia. There's 5 or 6 or 7 houses that are available. Some you could even put a business in. In fact, the tobacco is for sale. The business of the tobacco in town is for sale. Getting a job in France requires getting specific visas. I don't know anything about the job visas because I didn't require that kind of visa when I came. I was retired and I owned my own property. So my visa was a piece of cake compared to some of the visas that are available. My son lives in Denver, works at Whole Foods for 3 years, doesn't speak French, but trying to learn. How could he get a job there, do you think? He's great with his hands and tools. Thank you. Again, I don't know anything about the visas where you come to work in France. Unless you get a visa that allows you to apply for jobs in France, I don't think you can work in France when you get here. In other words, you can't look for a job. But I don't know. You would have to ask French Connections or someone else like that that knows about the different visas and what they're for. If he's good with his hands and tools, bring his own tools and start his own thing. The house directly across the street from me has a shop space in it, right on the street, right next to the bread store. A tiny restaurant, a fix-it shop, something like that could go in that space beautifully. Walking Trees, just making a chai. You remind me, I should take a swig of my heart health tea. Okay. It has been an hour and a half again, guys. I'm going to have to pull this to a close. Coffee and sodas are not good for you. Coffee is better for you. Coke and sodas are not good for you. Coffee is better for you than soda. Yes, that is true. However, on a hot day or at a ballpark with a hot dog, there's nothing better than a Coke or a soda. Just like there's nothing better with popcorn than a cold beer on a hot day. There is a time and a place for everything, but anything taken to excess is not good for you. McClara 222, France equal paperwork, exclamation point, period. Yep, sorry, but that's just to get used to it. It ain't changing, I'm sure. Okay, I'm going to save this chat because I didn't get everything answered, and it will give me a chance to get back to it again. There'll be another live next Sunday. I don't know what we'll talk about yet, but we'll figure out something. I always do. Got to make sure it saves here. Oh, come on. I really enjoy these chats on Sunday, but I need to make more content. So I've got some ideas, and I'm going to be working on some things this week so that I can get some more videos out as opposed to just a live. But I want to thank you all for being here. I think this has been the most lively chat we've had so far. Don't forget to look up the comments that I posted in the links, and I will make sure that those links also make it into the description for this video. And I'm glad it's gloomy outside because I didn't have to do this with my sunshade almost. Anyway, you guys, thank you so much. A biento. Oh boy, how do I turn this thing off? In stream. Okay.